Thanks for watching Twilight. It's on CRTV News, and we're talking about the 2020-2021 school year that kicked off this week all over Cameroon. It kicked off on the day of on World Teachers Day. Now, we have somebody here, Max Abaiko, who is a writer and who has been teaching younger ones too, to talk to us about the concept he calls education and sustainable development. Max, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You came here last time and spoke about the book, The Spoken Word. How has it been doing?
Yeah, I think I've distributed the copies in fact, in all the national libraries, nationwide. So the copies are available.
Let's talk now about this concept of education and sustainable development, that education should be productive.
Yeah. I must say that the concept education and sustainable development are very important concepts that every youth needs to accept or welcome. Now, for us to extrapolate on the topic education and sustainable development, it is necessary that our viewers get the basics. That is, what is education and what is sustainable development. Education is simply a process of learning, and it can be diverse, or it can be classified into three. We have formal education, informal education, and non-formal education. Now, concerning sustainable development, it can be defined etymologically, that is, separating sustainable from development. And sustainable here will mean continuous, development will mean progress or advancement. Now, when you put the two together, it will give you continuous progress or continuous development. So the concept of continuous development is a very important concept that every stakeholder needs to embrace, because development of our environment is very necessary, and educating the population, educating people on how to foster development is very important. So people go to school, like you highlighted productive education, but I must say that the term productive education is somehow biased, because there you'll be talking about career education, but I must say those that do theory or those that learn theory are also important, because they become the policy makers, while the career, those who receive the career education become those who construct, those who build architecture for the country, which is part of development. So everybody, the person who does formal education at the level of theories, learning theories, he can become a lawyer or to defend, he can become a magistrate to defend, and the person who does architecture in Polytech and so on and so forth, they too are important in the society, because they are the ones to carry out.
So where does your own policy comes in? I know it's SDG Goal 5.
Yes. So sustainable development has been further defined, or has been simplified by the Brundtland Commission report as our common future, and they further give a sophisticated definition of it to be development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the needs of the future generation. So that means using our resources, the forest resources, the water resources, the mineral resources, to carry out certain development, maybe the construction of roads, construction of bridges, construction of schools. All these are things that foster development or that attract development. So it is necessary that people are educated to draft policies that educate, or to draft policies that plan how these resources will be exploited, how these resources will be used to foster development.
And train people to be able to
and also train people to be able to exploit.
Could you give a concrete example of what they're trying to explain here?
Yes, for example, the forest resources. We need timber, we need trees to carry out development, like construction of road or construction of houses, particularly plank houses. Now, if people are not educated, we don't have policy makers who can draft out policies on how this timber could be exploited and how it can be used, then this timber will be exploited in the wrong way or will be over-exploited. For example, there are people who do exploit timber, who do exploit trees, or there are people who deforestate without afforestation. Yeah, so if the sustainable development goals or the sustainable development as per the Brundtland report requires that when you fell down 10 trees, you should be able to plant back the 10 trees, because these 10 trees can be used to construct roads today for the present generation. That will be important for the present generation, but the future generation will also need those roads. So there need to be policy makers who will draft out those policies that if you fell down 10 trees, you should be able to plant those 10 trees. Now, the same too in water resources, we have fishes, we have meats in the water, even in the forest. Now, there should be policymakers on the exploitation of fishes or resources, natural resources in the water. So because over exploitation of fish as well can be dangerous to the human environment, because people will not have fish which gives protein, which is energy for them to walk. Yeah, because if people don't have energy, they don't have food to eat, they will be unable to work, they'll be unable to construct roads, they'll be unable to construct schools, hospitals, which define development.
Where should this type of training start?
Yeah, I think
Elementary, primary, secondary?
No. It should start at the secondary level, because everyone needs to go through the nursery and primary, that is elementary. Everybody needs to have that basic education, how to write, how to read. So at that level, everybody has to go through. But at the level of secondary or after secondary, a student or the parent should be able to ask the student or the child, what do you like to do, instead of you must do this. Because there are people who would like to be people who would like to be constructors or contractors. There are people who would like to be architects, while there are people who would like to be lawyers and magistrates. So it is left for the parents to give them the opportunity to decide where they belong, so that they can start. Those who have chosen to be architects, they can start training. They can go to those professional schools of engineering and so on and so forth, so that they can foster development. While those who have decided to go for the other system of education, they too should be given the opportunity, because both work hand in glove. Yeah, we need policymakers and we need people to implement those policies. We need people to define how our forests could be exploited. We need people to define how the water could be exploited, the resources in the water could be exploited. We also need people who will implement, who will ensure that those resources are used for sustainable or continuous development.
And it comes in properly to this time when we talk about decentralization?
Yes, yeah, it is. It is very important for the local authorities who are being given or who will be elected very soon to implement this issue of sustainable development by educating the local population, because many people are ignorant about it. There is a lot of deforestation of trees or deforestation of trees without afforestation, which hampers sustainable development, because the consequence is that when you deforestate without afforestation, it brings in climate change.
Now, do you think we have the human capital to be able to embrace this system now if it had to be applied?
Of course.
Do we have the human resources to start training people on what we do?
It is. I think in 2008 there was a prime ministerial decree on that, to train people, to train women, because the sustainable development goals requires that everyone should be involved. Children should be involved, women should be involved, men, everybody should be